Toby says, we all love 2 Timothy 2:15. Joel, please explain 1 Timothy 2:15. Okay. I did a sermon on 1 Timothy 2:15. I went through the both of the Timothy epistles. Those epistles have some meat to them, and there are times when I think Timothy probably knew the grace message backwards and forwards, like the back of his hand, probably knew it as well as anybody on planet Earth at the time. Of course, Adam and Eve, notwithstanding, shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness and sobriety. There's
nothing controversial about that.
Yeah, there's nothing difficult about it. So I'll start with verse 12. And then we'll see where we go. I have a list of theories about verse 15. I don't have any solid opinions about what that could be talking about. I'm actually would be curious to know what Bob would think. So 1 Timothy 2:12. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. Now that silence, I suspect. You had we know that in Timothy's church in Ephesus, he had Jews there who were, there was some disorder. They were speaking out of turn, interrupting Timothy. They were monopolizing Timothy's time to teach. They had no respect for him because he was so young. They were lecturing everybody about something that was completely irrelevant in grace. They were lecturing people about the law, the value of the law. They were probably also lecturing people about Jewish fables, right. Which no Jew should be doing. And so to me, I think Paul is basically saying, everybody silent. Timothy's going to be the one that's going to do the teaching here, right? You had to take that kind of extreme reaction to an extreme problem before they learned to be civil and allow Timothy, of all people, to speak. Does that sound okay to you?
Sounds good.
Verse 13, for Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Okay, well, how is this possible? Because, she knew what the rules were. How could she be deceived? Do you think Adam was standing with her when she accepted the fruit?
I think he was very close by.
Yes. So I suspect he's standing right with her. We could go back to the story if you want in Genesis 3. Or 2. And so now to what degree she knew the rules. Now, we don't have a record of the Lord actually speaking to Eve, telling her the rules. When she told Satan what the rules were, she kind of added a little bit to them. So people have often questioned how much she understood the rules. Did she add to it? I didn't think the additions were all that big of a problem, but and I think Adam was standing right next to her, and like a spineless man, he failed his wife and neglected to protect her and to stop this whole thing, because Adam was not deceived. He knew exactly what was going on. Right. Eve actually bought into the lie and thought this animal is telling her, this snake is telling her the truth. And when she told the Lord, that she was deceived, she legitimately was. She legitimately was deceived, but that did not excuse her or, remove the responsibility she had. She knew what the rules were. She still obeyed, even though she was deceived. And that doesn't mean that she's not responsible for what she did, because she is. And then he says, this Adam was first formed, then Eve. Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. And then that's the setup to verse 15. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness and sobriety. So I have a list of theories. What are your thoughts on verse 15? You want to go through the list of theories and react to that, Bob, or how do you want to do this?
It's that word notwithstanding it's an important word that nevertheless, in spite of what Eve did, I think this goes to all of women there in verse 16, she shall be saved in childbearing.
Right.
welcome to 2024, where people think that men can have children and women can be fathers and everything.
Exactly.
I think this all applies to that. This is the saved is not justification. Obviously, the saved
Right.
would be your
Deliverance
from things. Sound like Joe Biden there for a second there. I couldn't think of the word. Can I say that and not get blocked? Or
we'll see, won't we?
That's me, right?
Yeah, the blocking's already begun. That's right.
It's telling me the Frontier Airlines, the flight is going to leave.
Oh yeah,
from yesterday. Yeah, but I think that applies for women to be in the proper role of a woman, rather than trying to usurp that authority over over men and trying to be men, et cetera, et cetera. So
I actually love that. It was always interesting to me. It says, notwithstanding, that is a big word in that verse, because notwithstanding, in fact, what had happened isn't going to prevent what he's he's about to say.
Well, one of my favorite words is but.
Right.
But.
Right.
Yeah, she'll be saved in childbearing.
She'll be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness and sobriety.
Yeah.
Right.
Meaning male and female.
Right. Right. So yeah, who is they? Male, female makes sense to me. The common, what I remember what I had encountered in books when I was studying it at the time was that people often thought that had to be talking about the children,
right? Because
she's in childbearing, but it's the continuation of the male and female in the proper roles that God had given them. Is what you're suggesting.
That's what I would suggest.
And this being that the roles were put into place because of sin. In the garden, they basically this structure that exists in the family is crafted and existed because of sin. That's why you have to have authority in this family. You got to have somebody who is God makes the male ultimately responsible here as the leader of the family, and the female in a support role, all because of sin.
Right. Amen.
That's not to diminish the female in any way, or that the female is not equally important either. There is submission to be done between both the husband and the wife in that marriage, and a oneness in that decision making that's being done also between the two of them.
Amen.
But the man being held responsible by God for those decisions.
Right.
I like that. I like that. Now, what would you say would be the saved in childbearing? Delivered in what sense would you say?
Delivered in the sense that would be the proper role of a woman, would be to bear children.
Right.
So
I'm guessing delivered is, fulfilling God's will, and thus you will ultimately be rewarded at the Bema seat for having taken on that, I don't know, God-given role that you have, I guess.
You almost sound sexist when you say it, but the primary role of women is childbearing.
Yeah.
So not to cast that off to somebody else. So
I had 7 interpretations of this verse that I preached on, and a lot of them are just, I read that commentators suggested that women receive saving grace by having children. That's not right.
Yep, that's a
women
common one.
Are saved by properly raising children. That's not right either. Anything works-based is going to be you already know it's wrong. Women are kept safe in childbirth if they are faithful. Even Christian women have died during childbirth, so that makes no sense. Women are saved from the dilemma of having no one to teach by having children to teach, which isn't true. This could somehow refer to the Messiah, which also doesn't make any sense. The entire human race isn't going to be saved in the sense of the women giving childbirth. Years ago, and I wrote this down, and I'm glad I did, because now I can use it against him. Hal said that Paul will be talking about widows in chapter 5, and this may be a precursor to that topic, in that elderly and the widows will be delivered from poverty if the children continue in faith and charity. I like that, but women and children are delivered from Satan's deceptions if they continue in faith and charity. The answer that makes most sense to me is what you said, Bob. I really love that answer.
Role, I think, and I think in 1 Corinthians 14, the whole issue of having long hair.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the same. I think that's the same idea we have
Right.
here.
Right.
It's the proper role of man and woman and family under God.
Well, what do you guys think about that? Does anybody have any alternative thoughts about 1 Timothy 2:15? I'm all ears. I will always be all ears from everybody about 1 Timothy 2:15.
Yeah, it's